Radhe Radhe. Today is Saturday, 27th January 2024. Here in this continuing journey for Bhagavad Gita Recitation, where we are in chapter 10, we are presenting to you this recap video for today's class. Along with me, here is Mummy.
Radhe Radhe.
I'll bring up the screen and we'll take a look and see that we covered chapter 10 verses 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. We'll hear one round of recitation of all these 5 verses, then learn one or more important words from each one, then hear a little bit of their explanation, and then go through the recitation rendition one more time. So with that, we shall get to chapter 10, verse 16 and beyond.
Vaktum arhasya sheshena divya hyatma vibhutayaha yabhir vibhutibhir lokan imam stvam vyapya tishthasi katham vidyam aham yogins tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintayosi bhagvan maya vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuyah kathaya triptirhi shrinvato nasti me mritam. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Hantate kathayishyami divya hyatma vibhutayaha pradhanyatah kuru shrestha nastyanto vistarasya me aham atma gudakesha sarvabhutashya sthitaha aham adishcha madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. So let's see one word each from each verse. Verse number 16, asheshena. Asheshena means complete, when nothing is left. Asheshena. Verse 17, let's look at parichintayan. Parichintayan means when we are meditating. Verse number 18, amritam. Amritam is that nectar. Kathayishyami from verse 19. Kathayishyami means Krishna is saying, I shall now describe. And verse number 20, Ashaya sthitaha. Ashaya sthitaha means seated in the heart. So over to you, Gagan.
Thank you, Mummy. Let's look at quick explanation for each of these 5 verses. So chapter 10, verses 16 and 17 go together. The catchphrase for chapter 10, verse 16 is details desired. And then for chapter 10, verse 17, meditators' mechanics. In these 2 verses, continuing from the prior ones, Arjun has understood, that Sri Krishna is the supreme divine personality. He's convinced, and he wants to know more about Sri Krishna's position and eminent, opulences. So he politely asks him to share more about his glories. And he also wants to know meditators' mechanics, how to meditate, in what forms to look at Sri Krishna, how to meditate upon him. But all this request, he knows, happens and takes place only because through the grace of Sri Krishna can Arjun further know him. Therefore, he has to obviously make this request politely to Sri Krishna as he wishes to learn more about him. Chapter 10, verse 16, nighttime nectar. We all are on these spiritual journeys, but overall it's ignorance so far. It's night for us, but what will help us through that is nectar. Arjun wants to hear more about Sri Krishna's glories, and all those unlimited names, forms, abodes, and pastimes of Sri Krishna, hearing about them is like nectar. The interesting thing is that as one gets more of that nectar, as one drinks more of it, one's thirst for that nectar increases. So you take nectar, you quench your thirst, but then you have more thirst for it. And that's how our progress happens spiritually. Chapter 10, verse 19, the catchphrase now here as a question is detailed discourse. Well, Arjun certainly wants to have all the details from Sri Krishna, but Sri Krishna has unlimited opulence. So he says to Arjun that he'll share just briefly a little bit about his opulence and his details, because there's no end to what he can describe. So it will be, of course, a discourse full of details, but it can never be enough. There's just so much more that Sri Krishna can cover. And finally, chapter 10, verse 30, throbbing throne. Very important verse, often quoted, of course, even if not mentioned as a number. Throne here is the seat, referring to Sri Krishna, and throbbing, of course, is our heart. In this verse, Sri Krishna tells us that he truly is the soul of the soul. He lives in our heart. And, from there, of course, that is the seat where Sri Krishna is, and he guides us and he helps us. But of course, that is something we hear often through the various scriptures. And Sri Krishna adds that all living beings, emanate from him, and he sustains them, as well as eventually we'll all merge into Sri Krishna. So Sri Krishna is the beginning, middle, and the end of all living beings. Just a quick connection to the flyer for the class, as we saw as well. In which room is Sri Krishna's favorite plush seat? Well, it's probably somewhere on this couch or sofa in the living room. And that living room, as we now have seen and learned, it is known as the heart. So that's the heart right there, different forms. Sri Krishna explicitly states that he lives in our hearts. We'll now go through a rendition of all 5 verses one more time.
So before I go for next round, I want to point out few things which I mentioned in the class. Now let's look at word 16. It seems there are real big words. So these are compound words in Devanagari. And so we have to open them. It is compound means there is sandhi of 3 or 4 words. Sandhi means joining, joined. So they become compound words. And now we have to do sandhi viched. That means opening of. So look at the first line. So it has vaktum arhasya sheshena. 3 words are there. In the lower line, look at this. Yabhir vibhuti bhir lokan imams tvam. So many words are in that. So my request to those who are going through the recap video, if you are not very comfortable with Sanskrit, as we are not experts, keep on looking at the English transliteration. That will help you to recite the words exactly the way they should be. Also, notice the word syllables sh and sh. The pronunciation between sh and sh. This one, first one is sh, shalgam sh, and you see the way of writing it in English transliteration. In Sanskrit, it is sh, shalgam sh, and in English transliteration, it is sh with a transcript on top. Now, sh, shatkon sh, that s has a dot underneath. So we have to practice to speak sh and sh. We'll move to next verse and see what is there. Yeah, in next verse I talked about halant. At the end of the first pada, the last syllable na has a halant underneath. Whenever there is a halant underneath in Devanagari, notice that is where we don't say extra a. We will finish right at na. We will not say na a. We'll say na and cut it there. Also, in the second line, notice the so much use of Shatkon Sha, Keshu, Keshu, Bhaveshu. So, in English transliteration, now you should know that for this Sha, there is a dot underneath S. And so we will go for the second round. Vaktum arhasya sheshena दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः याभिर्विभूतिभिर्लोकान् इमां त्वं व्याप्य तिष्ठसि कथं विद्याम् अहं योगिन्स् त्वां सदा परिचिन्तयन् केषु केषु च भावेषु चिन्तयोऽसि भगवन्मया विस्तरेणात्मनो योगं विभूतिं च जनार्दन भूयः कथय तृप्तिर्हि शृण्वतो नास्ति मे मृतम् श्रीभगवानुवाच हन्त ते कथयिष्यामि दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः प्राधान्यतः कुरु श्रेष्ठ नास्त्यन्तो विस्तरस्य मे अहम् आत्मा गुडाकेश सर्वभूताशय स्थितः अहम् आदिश्च मध्यं च भूतानाम् अन्त एव च. So one more thing, let me mention Ashaya Sthita, that goes exactly with the flyer. You saw the flyer, and Ashaya Sthita means that Krishna lives in our heart. That is his living room. And another point I think in verse number 18, verse number 18. Vistarenatmano. Now, notice here, there is, in one word, there is ana and na. Ana is the dot underneath the n, and normal na is just n. So, vistarenatmano, ana and na. So, keep on practicing these different pronunciations. With that, over to you, Gagan.
Thank you, Mummy. So yeah, that brings us towards the end of this recap video for today's Bhagavad Gita recitation class for chapter 10. We look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place. That is Saturday, 3rd February, 2024. Till then, thank you so much and Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.